Hi guys, welcome back. So in this section we are going to learn about user and role management in MongoDB. So in this particular in this particular lecture we are going to create an user in MongoDB database, and then in the subsequent tutorials we will be seeing how we can grant roles to that users, how we can create different users with the specific roles, and how we can use the user authentication in MongoDB. So let's get started with this user creation in MongoDB database. So I'll open the Mongo console. So this is the Mongo console I'm using. So you can run a command so databases, and it will list down all the databases existing in your MongoDB. So these are the databases I'm using. Class info for this course, so I'll switch to that database. So you can use a command use and then database name to switch to the database, and then you can run a command so collections to list all the collections that we have created. So this is just to revise. And now I'll tell you one more thing. To get the users existing in that database, you can use the command db.get users. So this is just a simple command to list all the users. See here, till now we have not created any users in database, so there is no users, the array is empty. So now we will be creating our first user in this class info database. So let's get started. So to create user, we have a simple command, a simple method, which is a create user. So create user is a method through which we can create an user in a MongoDB database. So inside this we can create an user. So create user, and then we can close this bracket, and inside that we have to write whatever the username and the roles in the inside the curly brace. So let's get started. So user, the first field is user, and then you can give the username here. So suppose I'm giving Sunil, and then the next thing is password. So per password there is a field called pwd for password, and here you can write a password which you want to create. So I'm giving Sunil, username and password both as Sunil, and then come the roles. So you can assign roles to your user. So roles is an array which will be containing role and database. So inside this we will be giving role, and role for now I'm giving user admin. So this is an role in MongoDB that we can assign to a user, that is user admin. The user admin, this thing we'll discuss in later tutorial what are the different roles, but this user admin is a admin user which is responsible for managing all the users and their roles. So we can create another user with this user, and it will be responsible for all the user management kind of thing. So this is the role I'm assigning to this user Sunil. So you have given, and then we have to specify the which database. So I'll give the database name, and the database name is class info. So this is pretty simple. So see here, we are closing this, and then we are closing this roles array, and then we are closing this, and then the main create user function. So now this is the command create db.create user. Inside that we have to give user, username, password, and roles. Inside roles we have to give two things, roles for that user. So here I'm giving user admin, and then you have to specify the database for which you want to create this user. So now I'll hit enter to create the user. So see here, successfully added user Sunil, role is role user admin, and db class info. So let's query the users. So I'll query now db.get users to get all the users for this class info database. See here, now it is returning. Earlier it was returning a blank array, now it is returning with some information. So get user is giving like id class info dot Sunil. So this Sunil is referring to this database. So this Sunil user is belongs to this database. So id field has been created by default by the MongoDB, and the id field is database dot username, and then username db, and then password. The password is not reflected here, but because the we should not show the password, so that's why it is hidden. Then the DB name, and then the role user admin, and DB is class info. So this is how we can create an user in MongoDB database. Hi guys, welcome back. So in the previous lecture we have seen how to create an user in MongoDB database, and in this lecture we are going to start our MongoDB server with the authentication enabled. So till now we have started the MongoDB without any authentication or authorization. So we can actually start the MongoDB server in two ways. We can start the MongoDB server with authentication enabled, and we can start without any authentication. So till now what we have done, we have started the MongoDB server without any authentication. That's why it never asks for the password, username and password. So in this lecture we are going to start the MongoDB server with authentication enabled. So I'll open the console. So I'll just start the MongoDB server. So we know how to start. We can start with MongoDB-db path, and then we give the path for the data/db folder, so where the MongoDB stores the data by default. So this is the normal command to start MongoDB. In this we can add auth -auth, and then we can give the db path and path for the data/db. So when you give this -auth, it means MongoDB server will be started with the authentication enabled. So let's start it. So see here, now you can see here the server has been started and waiting for the connection. It is saying option security authorization enabled. So here you can see another option, security authorization enabled. So now the server is started with the authorization enabled. So let's connect to the Mongo shell. So here I'll connect to Mongo shell, and earlier we were connecting to the test database and we are doing all sort of things with that. So see, now it is showing connecting to test. So see here, it is showing error while trying to show server startup warning not authorized on the admin to execute command. So why this error? Because we are trying to enter into the MongoDB without providing the valid username password. So see here, if you use the so DB, it will throw you not authorized on admin to execute this thing. So what we can do, we can go to the particular database which you want to connect. So I'll use class info. So I'll be switched to the DB, and here if I try to run the command so collections, again I'll get the same not authorized for query on class info. So now what I can do, I can use the db.auth method to authorize the DB. So I have created the user Gupta with the password Gupta. So this is the user which we have created on the class info database in the previous lecture. So now I'm authenticating this database with this. So I'll hit on enter. See here, 1 means true, means I have been authenticated. The Gupta user has been authenticated to do some activity on the database. So I'll use show collections now, and see here, now I'm getting the result. So here I was getting error not authorized for query. Here I'm getting the after authentication I'm getting the result. So this is the way we can enable authentication on the MongoDB server, and this is the way db.auth and then username and password we can pass to authenticate the user. So this is the way to enable authentication in MongoDB database. See you in the next lecture. Hello guys, welcome to this Q&A section, and here I'm going to tackle a problem which was raised by Hemal. So 4 days ago he asked this question that he's going through authentication problem where he encountered an issue, and what he did actually, he started the server with authentication, then he successfully authenticated the user as well. So first he created the user, then he started the server with authentication on, and then he successfully authenticated the user as well, and then he is trying to get the show collection. When he is getting these errors, not authorized, code 13 error. Okay, unauthorized access. Why he is getting this error? Because he created a user with role user admin. So user admin will not have all the read access. He is having the accesses to just create user, delete user, drop user, all those things for user management. So he may not be having access to the databases. So for that we need to provide the database access to read or write access to this user. For that, what we need to do, we need to run the query, this run db.run command query to grant the user role. We need to assign him a role, read and write, okay, for this database. So for that we need to run this command. So to run this command, what we need to do, we need to first stop the Mongo shell, we need to stop the MongoDB server, and we need to start the MongoDB server without authentication. And then once server is running, we need to go to the Mongo shell, and there we need to run these commands. Always remember, we need not to run the command with authentication on. We need to start the server without authentication, and then we need to run this command. Once you run this command, this read access role will be given to this user Hamel, which is having a user role as admin. Okay, so once you done this, and then you need to close the Mongo shell, then you need to stop the MongoDB server, and again you have to restart the MongoDB server with authentication on, and then you need to open the Mongo shell, and there you need to go to this class info server. You need to type use class info, and then you need to use the db.auth, and you need to provide the this user's username and password. And once authentication is processed, done, you need to run all the commands. You can use show collections, show dbs, all those things you can run. So basically this is the solution for his first question. So now the next thing is, he is telling that he was not able to restart the MongoDB server for some reasons, and what he did, he was just restored his VM snapshot, and now he is successfully started the MongoDB server with authentication. Now he is having one more issue, and that issue is because what he did, he started the MongoDB server with authentication on, and then here what he is doing, he is coming to Mongo shell, and he is going to the database class info by running the command use class info. So now he is switched to this database, and what he is doing, he is running the command show collections, and he is getting not authorized on this database to execute this command, unauthorized. Why he is getting this error? Because he started the MongoDB server with authentication on. So now you need to provide the user information to do anything on this database. So before running this show collection command, he need to authorize the user. So he need to write the command db.auth Hamel, whatever username password he is having. Once you authorize the user and then you run this command, you will not be getting this error. Okay, so Hamel, you need to first, after this use class info, you need to use db.auth, and you need to provide the username password for the user, and then once authorization is done, you need to run the command show collections, and it will be working perfectly fine. Okay, so let me show you this problem's replication. I have replicated this problem, and I'll show you. See here, I'm running the MongoDB server with authentication on, and I'll hit enter. So now MongoDB server will be started with authentication on. Next thing what I do, I will go to Mongo shell. See here, now I am inside the Mongo shell, and what I do, I'll use class info, and here if I run the command show collections, I'll get the error. See here, I'm also getting the same error message, not authorized on class info to execute command. Okay, unauthorized access. To to tackle this, what we need to do, we need to first db.auth, and we need to provide the username password. So for that we need to provide Hemal username. Suppose you have given username as Hemal and password as Hemal, and then you need to hit enter. So this will authorize the user. See here, now it's showing 1, it means the user has been authorized. Now if I run the command, so collections, it will be showing everything. You can use so dbs, everything. Sorry, so dbs we cannot run because we are inside a database. So we can run the so collections, and it is working fine, right? So you need to authorize the user first, and then you need to run the command if your server is running with the authentication. Okay, so I hope this will resolve the issue which Hemal is facing currently. And okay, so Hemal, please go through this lecture which I'll upload now, and you will be finding solution for your issue. I hope it helps you, and if you have any further question, please ask. Thank you.